How's it going, everybody? It's Carlos, one of your hosts of the Bring on the Blitz podcast, and I'm joined here like I am every week with one of our co-hosts as well, Rios. How's it going, brother?
Exhausted. This thing is full of energy and does not know how to sleep.
Hey, man, if you've tuned in lately, Rios got a cat. Dude, how did you find her real quick, in case anybody doesn't know?
Yeah, so she was outside. It was a cold day. It was like 2 days before Thanksgiving. She was asleep on top of a tire, all mangy looking, her eye half shut. So I, took her in. I thought about calling animal control. I'm like, she fit in the palm of my hand. Like, I'll take her. I'll take her in, get her cleaned up, and then I'll take her to the vet. And after that, I had to keep her.
And that's man. No, you did a great deed, brother. Seriously, I have a cat that looks like that on my own, and it's a great feeling. They're very appreciative. Some cats, not all of them.
Oh, yeah, she feed her as long as I feed her.
Yeah, there you go. As long as you feed her. All right, man. So let's we're gonna hop in a little bit. This is what we're gonna talk about today. The Houston Texans surprised a lot of people that were doubtful going in, including myself, against the Chargers. They came out victorious. We will start delving into how they were able to beat the Chargers and what they can do to get over Kansas City this weekend. All this and more when we come back from our intro. Hit it! Yeah, man. So, CJ Stroud, the Texans offense, the defense played a lot of complementary football, and that was a key word, complementary football. Usually it's the defense kind of holding it down, but this time the offense did something that Texans fans hadn't seen in quite some time, and that was the awakening of CJ Stroud. Rios, your reaction the moment CJ Stroud woke up from slumber?
Yeah, it really was a tale of two halves. The first half, it's looked typical to what we've seen from the Texans offense the last few weeks. Very sluggish, slow starts, a lot of 3-and-outs, turnovers. And then they almost had a second turnover on that fumble play near their own end zone. But it's like something clicked inside of Stroud's head, and he was able to pick the ball quickly, move his eyes down the field, and hit Xavier Hutchinson for a big gain. And that was what the offense needed. There was that shot in their arm that they needed, and from there they were able to put some drives together, put up points, and the defense did what it always does: shuts down opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree. It was it started off just like you said, as a typical game that most people are used to seeing this season. Slow start to the offense, 3-and-out. In this case, quote me if I'm wrong here. The first play was CJ to John Mechie. Mechie drops the ball and Chargers recover right at the right immediately right where they left off almost. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is
one of those days.
It's 100%. It seemed like it was going to be one of those games where nothing was going to go right, and reminiscent of the Ravens Texans Christmas Day game, where it was like, oh, it was a tough watch.
But the Beyonce concert.
They ruined the Beyonce concert, yeah. And so, nonetheless, man, it just seemed like for the longest, it was going to be one of those games. Luckily, the Texans defense stepped up. They only allowed the Chargers, even after getting the ball back so close to the end zone, the Texans defense held their own and only allowed the Chargers to go to score 3 points. At that point, that sends a message, that I think, along with everything else, kind of tells the defense, the offense, hey, listen, we're going to hold our end of the deal. We need you to step it up more, and we'll take care of it. And going in, my biggest concern, Rios, was what I didn't want was for the defense to step up. The defense has consistently been pretty decent throughout the entire season for the Texans this year. In big games and big situations, like they stepped up. They rose up to the challenge, even with missing players. They still kept that same level of consistency. And that defense hasn't really been fully together until that Chargers game. Like either you had guys being suspended or you had guys that got injured. But regardless, the defense has held their own. That's an elite defense that could go up against anyone, right? Nonetheless, I felt like that defense was going to hold their own. You and I came out here and said it last week. What we expected was that the defense was going to keep the Texans in the game, and they did for a good part of it. My biggest concern going in was based off the patterns that we had seen from the offense, where 3 and outs, 3 and outs, 3 and outs. Eventually, that defense gets worn out. So, yeah, and you're not putting up points. Exactly. 3 and outs, 3 and outs, no points being put up. That's a discouragement to your defense because it's a psychological aspect of, well, I'm doing my best out here, but the team isn't scoring points. The offense is scoring points. Why am I here, giving it my all when there's nothing shown for it, right? But this time around, it seemed like that was a start, and then they just started clicking, and that was the best part about it. They started clicking. It started to mesh a little bit. There were some glimpses of things we hadn't seen done before, not done before, but done as much this time around in the offense. In particular, short passes, checkdowns, right? It had been. When's the last time you saw a check down for CJ this season? That was effective. Sorry, that was effective.
Huh. Yeah, that was effective. I really can't even remember, to be honest with you. And they would have came in handy in games, those one-score games that they lost against the Packers, against the Lions. I mean, it's part of it was on Stroud's personal struggles, whether it be health or just stuff going on mentally, the play calling. It's a lot to be desired, not just from from a consumer standpoint of putting out an appeasing product, but I mean just getting results too. It's just a number of things have led to this being one of the worst offenses the last 5-6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean, not being able to not really score, being as effective in like when Baltimore came to the Texans. Now, I do understand though at that point you had just come out of a game against Kansas City where you lost one of your offensive weapons in Tank Dell, and then 3 days later you have to go back and play at NRG against the Ravens on Christmas Day. So I get that wasn't a big. I mean, it was only 3 days, so there's really not much planning that you can do to offensively or defensively scheme against the Ravens, so I get that, but I guess to the fans, I guess it was like disheartening in a way because it's like, wow, the fandom has seen the Texans, in precarious situations before, but that had to have been a painful one against the Ravens. So at that point, but again, it's like a domino effect. It could be one thing, but another, blah blah blah. However, it was going into this game. I think a lot of people discounted, didn't take the Texans too seriously going into the Chargers game because of what they had seen.
The media it was a bye week.
Yeah, Rex Ryan, a bye week, claimed it was a bye week, and then it didn't happen that way.
And the players, they took notice because every single one of them after the game, look, whenever they saw a camera around, how about that bye week?
Rex Ryan apologized to the team.
They like the Last Dance. They took it personally.
They took it personally, man. And so, and I think that goes to notice. Don't discount a team like that. But now they're doing it again against the Chiefs. So it's almost like the Astros when they would feed off of the negative media or the negative publicity, right? Yeah, we want Houston. We want Houston. Now it's like Texans don't have a chance. Texans don't have a chance. It's a bye week. Nick Wright, I believe, was what he said something along the lines of practice game for the Chiefs or something like that.
Yeah, it's their final practice before they go to the Chiefs Invitational in the AFC Championship game.
Well, that's something to be said. I mean, the Texans do take notice, and I think they're fueled by that motivation. They get motivated by things like that. So You know what I noticed also is that a lot of the prediction, and which we'll get into that at the end of the show, a lot of the predictions that we've seen go around are similar to what the Chargers and the Texans were. Like it was a kind of a close game. Like even against Kansas City in Kansas City, a lot of the score predictions have been relatively close by like a one score game or like one score and then or even but nothing like a blowout. You know what I mean? They're keeping it in.
How elite the defense is. Like they
right.
they respect the defense. They just don't respect the rest of the team.
Right. The defense is something that is it's a top 5 defense. That is statistically speaking, is a top 5 defense. The Houston Texans defense. You have an elite front 7. You have guys like Danico Autry, Mario Edwards, Fatukasi. You have, and aside from that, Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter. Oh, by the way, Christian Harris is back. Oh, by the way, Aziz Oshire is back. Henry To'oTo'o. But don't forget the guys in the back: Kamari Lassiter, Kalen Bullock, Eric Murray, All Pro, Stingley. That's a scary defense. If I'm a quarterback, that is a scary defense. And that's why, to your point, Rios, I agree. I think that's why most people who are betting against the Texans this weekend, they're keeping it within a one-score game, just about.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it all season. This defense is what has done to opposing quarterbacks, and not just your regular run of the mill quarterbacks. You're talking about Josh Allen. He had 9 completions in NRG. 9. He had one of the worst statistical performances in the last 50 seasons. Mm-hmm. This guy's probably going to win MVP, and that defense did that to him. They had Jared Goff, who's also an MVP candidate, 5 interceptions. And look what they did to Justin Herbert. He had thrown 3 interceptions on the season, and he matched that total on Saturday.
4.
Oh, he beat that total. Excuse me.
Yeah, 4.
I think they kind of jinxed him a little bit by saying, "Oh, he's only thrown 3 interceptions." Like,
well,
I guess he was back there, right?
Yeah. The thing is, like, I think people underestimate Stingley, and which is weird because he's an All-Pro. And the reason I say that is because Justin Herbert said it himself when they threw the ball at Quentin Johnson to go for that first down. The guy that stopped them was Derek Stingley, and he said, "I threw it to the best place that I thought would be right to Quentin Johnson, but he was being covered by Derek Stingley. So how is that the best place to throw it at?
I mean, Derek Stingley ran the route for him and picked it off easily.
Yeah, and the thing about
2 of those corners, they ran the route for the receiver. They did an excellent job in their film study sessions, and they were able to read the route and just anticipate and come up with 4 interceptions.
You know what makes Derek Stingley so special, Rios, is the fact that I know CJ said it in an interview as a joke, but it's really not. If you really look at it, it's really not a joke. This is a guy that could play both wide receiver and defensive back. The way that he has really good ball handling skills. He could play wide receiver if he wanted to. That's why he's able to run the route as well as these receivers. He can play wide receiver if he wanted to.
And it's a good pair of hands. He's able to come up with some of these, catches that are, highlight reels for wide receivers, but he's doing it as a cornerback.
Yeah. A few updates here. Cade Stover has gone to the injury reserve, so he's gone. He's done for the season.
Have they given an update on what the actual injury is?
Shoulder. Looked like a shoulder. And then you have this was news. Deontay Johnson, who they had gotten to replace Tank Dell after his injury. Now, in his own credit, Deontay Johnson is a heck of a route runner. Like the guy can get open and get separation. So they got this guy for Tank Dell. I think he had been on the team 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, after the Kansas City Chiefs game. They didn't play him against Baltimore, correct?
Yeah,
they didn't play him against Baltimore, but they played him against the Chargers. Oh, and the Titans. Excuse me. He did it. I was like, he did 2 games. Yeah, the Titans game first, and then the Chargers. According to ESPN, he wasn't happy with his role on the team, that he wanted more playing time. Now, that's something, because obviously this is a guy kind of like Stephon Diggs, where people said he's got some things happening with him. He's got some baggage coming in with him. He's got bad locker room problems. So and they said that about Stephon Diggs this season, and it wasn't a problem. So I think when we all heard that, we thought, it's not going to be a problem. Well, after the Chargers-Texans victory, everybody was happy, and apparently, according to sources, he was throwing a fit because he complained about the how much time he got, how much time he got, how much they were underutilizing him, I guess. And so Joe Mixon, it is said that Joe Mixon and Alshire went to go talk to him, and he just wasn't having it. A few days later, the Texans cut him. What does that say to you, Rios? What's going on?
That's a testament to the Texans culture and how much they value it. And they feel like someone is going to be a hindrance to that culture, they're going to let him go. They said the exact same things that they said about Deontay Johnson. They said about Stephon Diggs, he was acquired from the Bills. But what we saw was a complete opposite. He was named team captain. He was there celebrating his teammates whenever they made touchdowns, catches. Even after he was done for the season, he's still there, still rooting his guys on, happy for them. He's shown that he's a leader, and that, it may be some of these stories of him being a locker room cancer and a diva are a little bit overblown. Yeah. But with Deontay Johnson, they seem to be hit the nail on the head. And I think with him, he doesn't have the like when you think wide receiver, you think divas. Think of like guys in the past like Odell, T.O., and all those guys. Those guys have the talent to back it up. Deontay Johnson is not that, level of skilled player to, have that kind of attitude, and you come in and think, oh, you're going to get all the targets. No, there's a reason you've been on 4 teams in the last year. Like, it's not a them problem, sir. It's a man in the mirror problem.
And then that's Mike Tomlin too. Mike Tomlin from the Steelers, like, to let somebody go.
Yeah.
That kind of tells you something too.
And he has George Pickens on his team, and we've seen some of the antics George Pickens has done, but he still gets the job done, and Deontay Johnson was not.
Yeah. No, that's basically what I admire from what I really did like about Deontay Johnson is just his level of separation, which is something the Texans need. They need a wide receiver that can do that. So heading into the Chiefs, that's a little area of concern for me, I guess, if I'm the Texans. Now, it may not seem like much, but you have guys like John Mechie. I'll be honest with you, John Mechie didn't have the best game against the Chargers. He did not have the best game. Xavier Hutchinson, they need, now that Tank Dell's gone, and that Andy Reid is going to try to take away Nico Collins. They were successful the last showing. They took away Nico Collins, and that's why Tank Dell was getting open. Now you need to have somebody, whether it's Robert Woods, whether it's Tyler Boyd, who just got elevated from the practice squad, whether it's John Mechie, whether it's Xavier Hutchinson. One of those guys has to be the guy that steps up for CJ Stroud, that can throw the ball. Oh, and did I mention that Kate Stover's not there anymore because of IR? So that's somebody that you could dump the ball off to that can work. But he's out now. So now you got to rely on Quarantina. I think that's his last name. The backup tight end.
Yeah.
And Dalton Schultz. So it's going to be challenging in Arrowhead, in the cold, for CJ and the offense to get it going. But what makes me a bit optimistic is, did the CJ Stroud of last year finally wake up? And can he make those plays? So what I want to talk about now is, we saw the performances of CJ, how he stepped up, how he was planting his feet, how he was throwing checkdowns, how he used his legs, Rios, how he used his legs to run and gain those extra yards, how he used his legs for positive yardage and not just stand there like he was during the season, how he made plays, how he showed the leadership, his leadership capabilities, ran for I can't remember how many yards off the top of my head and got the first down and got the team in field goal range. Can we see that CJ Stroud on Saturday? Rios, your take.
No, I agree with you about as far as Stroud using his legs a little bit more. We saw it in that college playoff game, 2 seasons ago, where he was missing, Marvin Harrison Jr. They had lost JSN. They had lost their tight end, so they had to rely on number 3 and 4 guys and your backup tight ends. And they didn't really have much of a running game at Ohio State during that time. So it was really on Stroud that day to make plays with not just from the pocket, but with his legs as well. And we hadn't really seen it from him. I had been watching him for the last 2 years in college. And he didn't really run a whole lot, but that game he was able to be smart when he did choose to run and made plays with his legs. And you saw that Saturday. He was smart and knowing when to run and pick up a couple first downs. There was I think in the first half there was like a couple of times he should have ran and he didn't. Because middle of the field was wide open. But I think, like I said, something just clicked and he realized that, you know what, I'll just real estate in front of me. Might as well take advantage of it.
He's like, oh, yeah, I couldn't run, right? And then he takes off.
Because an interview came out recently, and not an interview, a podcast came out recently with Joe Mixon was on. And he said, one of the things he had told, Stroud is he wants to see him use his legs a little bit more, kind of like Mahomes does.
Yeah.
Mahomes, you don't think of him as a runner, but he uses his legs to pick up key first downs or keep plays going. And it's something that Stroud's going to have to learn. But he's the youngest quarterback in the playoffs. He's 23 years old. Yeah. He still has plenty of time to figure it all out, but he's going to have to speed up that process, because playoffs in Arrowhead in January, it's not a friendly environment.
It hits different, doesn't it? I agree. When you made that comparison of the CJ Stroud in Ohio State against Georgia, yes, all of his key players were basically out, and he had to become that CJ Stroud that I feel raises draft stock to where it was. So I think that this being the divisional round, the Texans have had absolutely no luck getting out of the divisional round. This would be the third time the Chiefs and the Texans go at it in the divisional round. By the way, for those keeping up with that. And both times the Texans have fallen to the Chiefs. So this is one of those times where, yes, CJ Stroud is missing key weapons on the offense. But guess what? CJ Stroud has overcame that before in the big stage, in the national championship game against Georgia. It's happened before. He's done what he could have. I mean, they didn't win, but he's done. He shined, it showed who he is as a leader, as a individual, but can he do it this time? It sounds like familiar territory, doesn't it, Rios? It sounds like almost the same things again. You're missing some of your top receivers. You're missing a tight end, one of your tight ends at least, that can be an option. But the difference is this time you got Joe Mixon, who you can utilize as well, depending on how what holes that the O-line is able to create for him. It's going to be like depending as well, but you hit the nail on the head on one thing that you said, when to run. You can't just run at every play, right? You can't, because we know that CJ Stroud is not a Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson can take off at just about any play and extend those first downs, right? But like you said, Patrick Mahomes, he's not a runner every single time, but he does it when he needs to. And that's what CJ is going to have to do. He's going to really have to dissect the defense, look at the perfect time to run, but he's going to have to run. He's going to have to use those legs because the Chiefs don't have a lot of luck. The Chiefs defense, don't have a lot of luck with running quarterbacks.
And I think another extension of the running game is those short passes to the running back. We haven't seen a whole lot of that dialed up this season. When the Texans acquired Joe Mixon, in my mind, I thought the offense would incorporate more passes to the running back.
Yeah, same.
I didn't see a whole lot of it. And again, I don't know if it was just because of them changing the play at the line or lack of incorporating him in the passing game, but they're going to have to get him involved because Andy Reid and Spager, they're going to focus on shutting down Nico Collins. They're going to be like, if they're going to beat us, it's not going to be Nico Collins. It's got to be somebody else.
Chris Jones came up today and said, I think they asked him, how do you beat the Texans? He says, contain. He didn't mention Nico. I think he just mentioned CJ Stroud and Joe Mixon. And that was it. Really, that was like end of quote right there. Like he said, contain Joe Mixon and CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of cover 2 and a lot of show coverages in this game because they're going to try to take away those deep shots. So he's going to have to be patient and go through his progressions and, take what the defense gives you. If they give you the middle of the field, take it. Just dink and dunk and, live to play another down.
Something's got to give, Something's got to give. If your deep ball is shot, if that's what they're doing, because if they throw the safeties in there and their deep shot's done, take the middle of the field, like you said. Take those check down plays. Use your running back. Anything that can alleviate a lot of those blitzes that they're going to come, a lot of those blitzes that are going to come and get you.
Yeah, so the play against the blitz is a running back screen. I have yet to see one called this season.
Right.
You have seen wide receiver screens and tight end screens that go for negative yards. Mm-hmm. I have yet to see one to the running back. I'm like,
yeah,
come on, guy.
No, I agree 100%. It's you have to start utilizing. You got to open up that playbook a little more too. Like those screens, those checkdowns, those are going to be essential to helping the rhythm, keep going. I believe the defense is going to still hold their own. I just think that it's the offense that's going to have to catch up again, like they did against the Chargers. I think CJ is going to need to run. You said he's going to have to use those short check down throws, and I agree with you 100%. He's got to have to do that. We have to see what CJ Stroud is made of, because right now, if in case this Texans offense was holding back on something, they can't do it anymore. You got to try something that they haven't seen yet. You got to brew something up.
The annexation of Puerto Rico,
right? So
the Little Johnson can work against the Chiefs.
Yeah. So there you go. So you gotta brew something up. Because like you said, they're gonna take away Nico. That's the main goal. They're gonna try to take away Nico. They're gonna try to contain Stroud. They're gonna try to make Stroud nervous. I think CJ he's got to release the ball a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Not hold it. Not try to go for hero ball. Again, check down throws like you said. Use Joe Mixon more. Do some slants in the middle of the field like you did against the Chargers with Nico Collins. Use Mechie effectively. Use Xavier Hutchinson effectively. Same thing with Robert Woods. If he does show up, because I think he hasn't practiced with a hip. He has a hip injury, if I'm not mistaken, Robert Woods. So you're very thin right now in the wide receiver position, but that's how I see the offense. Last thing for the offense. The offensive line, I think this is the best version of the offensive line that the Texans have seen throughout the whole season. I think Shaq Mason being out, unfortunately, I hate to say it that way, but it has helped the team. By putting in, I think the way that they have shifted the line by putting Blake Fisher in the, I think it was right tackle position. Yeah, excuse me, right tackle. Yeah, and then shifting Titus Howard over to left guard. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
He's a left guard right now, right? Titus Howard, yeah, and then Jared Patterson at center. Like I think that has helped issues with the interior line. Blake Fisher was dominating dudes left and right against the Chargers game here and there. Did you see him push off? I can't remember who he pushed off, but he took that man's lunch. What lunch money? Blake Fisher is a dog. Like Blake Fisher is a dog. DAWG and 4 exclamation marks.
All caps.
All caps.
Yeah, and I remember when he was drafted, I was kind of questioning the pick a little bit just because he plays tackle and you already had 2 of the highest paid tackles on the roster. But now it's starting to make sense, and we may not see Titus Howard at tackle again this as a Texan. I think Blake Fisher has submitted himself as that starting right tackle of the present and future.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think overall, I think we talked about that at the beginning. Also, during the draft episodes that we did, that like they grabbed them, they took them, and we were like, there is a possibility that once Titus Howard's contract is out, most likely you start seeing, Blake move into that role, and lo and behold, he's there already.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys that are on the offensive line aren't going to be in a Texas uniform next season.
Yeah.
Shaq Mason, possibly Titus Howard. We'll see who else, because they're going to have to, reconfigure this line. And in case they do get another offensive play call, they're going to have to, suit it to more of that play style, because the line that they have currently isn't, I don't think it's suitable for the type of offenses they're trying to run, which is, the Shanahan offense that they ran in San Francisco.
Right.
It's just they don't have the guys for that on this roster.
No, 100%. And I think that's it going into the offense. Now, heading over, because we covered just about everybody in the offense. Heading into the defense now. We talked about how they have an elite front seven. Honestly, pressuring Mahomes, I think, is key. Making them. I mean, they had 14 pressures on
Herbert,
on Justin Herbert. 14 pressures alone on him.
And they have top lines in the league. Like Herbert been sacked a whole lot this season. With Jim Harbaugh, he shores up the trenches on both sides of the ball, and they invested a lot in the offensive line with high draft picks and making moves to shore up that offensive line. But they were still able to get to Herbert a lot and force not just sacks, but a lot of hurried throws and bad passes.
I think with this game, what's going to help you keep close, just like the Chargers game, is how well the defense pressures Mahomes. The left tackle position for the Kansas City Chiefs isn't their best. They're really not good in the left tackle position, so that's something that the Texans have to exploit. They have to make sure that they go right into that left tackle position, and make sure that Mahomes starts making odd decisions, because he's been intercepted this past season. I think he has 11 interceptions on him. And so once you start making Mahomes get a little nervous, he's going to start throwing interceptions. Another thing that I think that the Texans really, really have to take into consideration is this: Chiefs haven't played since Christmas Day. It's been just about 3 weeks since they've last played. Like, imagine that they're going to come in with some rust. I'm sorry. Yes, you can do all your workouts and all that stuff, but in an actual game, that's where it's going to show. I think the Texans need to take care of that. They need to try to get Mahomes to 3 and outs, and make sure that, again, key is if you stop Mahomes, I think that Kansas City Chiefs offense doesn't work as efficient as it normally should. But key is get to Patrick Mahomes, make him feel uncomfortable, get on his face, like, seriously, sack him. Like, once those sacks start coming in, we're talking a whole new ball game here. And I think that's what the Texans front seven have to do. They have to get to Patrick Mahomes. The last time they played against the Texans defense, they didn't have Alshire there. I can't remember if they had Christian Harris. No, I think they had Christian Harris that game, did he?
It was his first game back, but I mean,
first game back, yeah. But the rust is there.
He hadn't played in 14 games.
Yeah, there you go. And then Henry To'oTo'o. So now you have Christian Harris. Now you got Azeez Alshire. I think it's a different ballgame here. So get to Patrick Mahomes. That's my take on that one. Rios.
They're going to have to be opportunistic, because Mahomes, he does a lot of errant passes, and they're going to have to be on it and come up with some interceptions. That's going to be key. Getting takeaways, not just interceptions, but getting some fumbles as well. They don't fumble a whole lot, but they're going to have to, start trying to punch the ball out. Yeah. I'm not too worried about the secondary, because they do take chances. They do take advantage of their opportunities, but they're really going to have to be on it, because the Chiefs are going to have a fully healthy offensive staff as well. They didn't have that, when they played a few weeks ago in December. So they're really going to have to, really scheme it up well, and they're going to have to be, cover their assignments.
100%. I think they're having, from what I saw, I think they may be having Stingley paired up with. Would you pair up Stingley with Xavier Worthy or DeAndre Hopkins to cover those first downs? Because DeAndre Hopkins is going to get those first downs.
I would put him on Worthy. I think Lassiter can do a decent job on D-Hop.
I think so too. Online, I kept seeing they were going to put Stingley with Hopkins, and I thought, I don't know. Xavier Worthy with Lassiter part. I'm thinking if they put Xavier Worthy with Kamari Lassiter, they're going to have to team up a safety with him, because honestly, Xavier Worthy is going to run through Kamari Lassiter on those.
Yeah, he's the fastest guy in the league.
He's the best guy in the league.
I think, that's typically what D'Amico has done. He has Stingley covered the number 2 receiver and has the number 2 corner, which this season is Lassiter, cover, the number 1 guy with safety help.
Yeah. Kalen Bullock.
I think that'd be probably the one guy. I don't see them pairing up with Eric Murray because that's just a mismatch. But if they can have Caleb Bullock out there, providing safety help, they got a chance. Because if he goes deep and Mahomes is just a fraction of a second off, that ball's getting intercepted, as we've seen with Caleb Bullock in his entire rookie season.
Yeah. No, and that's how it is. It's just depending on how smart the Texans scheme up defensively, which I do trust. I think they can do that. But at this point, I think they have to be able to play smart football, complementary football. Offense has to help out the defense, because if you start having the defense out there too long, they're going to get gassed. The Chiefs are going to take advantage of it, and it's going to create those opportunities where the Texans are going to have to find themselves coming back from behind, and it's not going to be a pretty game. Once they start playing catch up with the pieces that they have missing offensively, the Texans are going to have a really tough time taking care of that if they don't take advantage of the opportunities whenever the defense gives it to the offense.
They're going to have to take an old school approach, hard-nosed defense, and work their clock.
Yeah, 100%.
Whether short passes or with the run game, but they're going to have to control the time of possession and not be careless with the ball. If they can do those things, they can pull off the upset win.
I think so too. All right, we're heading into the last couple of minutes. So Rios, let's make a score prediction. Texans versus Kansas City Chiefs. I think we've already. First off, before we do that, we didn't talk about the Kansas City Chiefs defense. We talked about the offense. CJ Stroud. Man, the Chiefs defense is, for the most part, they can hold their own. Mm-hmm. So, like you said earlier, the deep ball throws are probably going to be cut off from CJ. Those safeties pretty decent. Chris Jones is gonna try to hold up against. No, I'm sorry. The Texas offensive line is gonna try to hold on against Chris Jones, but they actually didn't do a bad job. I think Delaney Tunsil last time they faced off kind of held him down.
Yeah, he didn't get a whole lot of. He didn't get any sacks, and I don't believe he pressured Stroud too much that game.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was Delaney Tunsil who was taking care of, who was the guy on Chris Jones that day. But for the most part of the offensive line, since they've had this group, which has been since the Titans game, they have covered C.J. Stroud and Davis Mills for the most part when he was there a good chunk. And I will say this about Davis Mills in that Titans game. A lot of what he did was step up in the pocket, and I think CJ kind of took notice of that too, and started doing that. And I think that's where he got some of those results against that. Because when I was watching the Titans game, I was like, you know what? That's what I wish CJ would do more, like step up in the pocket and probably use his feet. Obviously, you saw Davis Mills land on his neck on the.
The man was 5 yards from the end zone, but his neck was.
But his neck wasn't. Yeah, it looked like the letter L, dude, like standing up. But nonetheless, when I was looking at that, I was like, you know what? That's what CJ needs to do a little bit more. Stand up in the pocket and just go for it sometimes. I do wish, though, that CJ, now that he understands, hey, I need to run it, I think he needs to slide, though. Because the way he was going down, dude, he fell on his knees. Was one of them. I was like, ooh, and then like it almost looked like he was going to take a headshot. You know what I mean? Like I just wish that he would like slide. I think if he slides, I think that would make a lot of people feel a lot more comfortable than the way he's going down after contact.
Yeah, I think something he needs to work on in the offseason is taking some baseball lessons on how to slide. Because some of the guys that are really good at sliding are former baseball players. Mahomes, former baseball. Russell Wilson, Josh Allen. Yeah. Kyler Murray. Those guys are really great at sliding because they're all former baseball players. So I think that's something he should probably pick up in the offseason, learning how to slide from a baseball player and doing those drills and, getting that ingrained into, part of his arsenal.
Yeah. No, 100%. So I think they just need to, again, play smart complementary football. All three phases. Speaking of which, I keep forgetting about this phase. Special teams, brother. Special teams. Like Frank Ross. He's turned the Texans special team around like crazy. They're playing with so much attitude, so much charisma this season, the special teams. They got a bunch of group of guys there that have been phenomenal this season in special teams. Frank Ross, Frank Ross, and then like D'Angelo, D'Angelo when he picked up and that extra point and ran it through, that was just amazing awareness.
Yeah.
Still, that right there, it shows a statement that all three phases played well, and I think that's what you need to do. Have all three phases play as well as you did against that Chargers defense. I think if the Texans want to be successful, they take a long, hard look at what they did and what made them successful against the Chargers, and bring that over to the Kansas City Chiefs game.
Yeah, a lot of those same principles should work because the Kansas City Chiefs are, division rivals to the Chargers, and they play each other hard and they play each other very similar. So some of the things that worked against the Chargers, they should have success against the Chiefs. Things that didn't work against the Chargers, maybe try to tweak that a little bit to, suit it more towards facing Kansas City.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's going to be our picks. So Rios, I'll go first on this one, so you can have the last word on it. With all that said and done, what's making me, I think the Texans have a chance. Let me say this before I say, I think the Texans have a chance. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for the Chiefs. I think this is going to be a much different Texans team than what the Chiefs saw that first time around. And even then, the Texans kind of kept it close up until when the Tank Dell went out. It was a pretty close game, and so I think going into this game, I don't think the Texans are somebody that you're just going to have a bye week or a practice, as some of the people in the media said. So it's not going to be a walk in the park. I think the defense is going to keep them in the game, and like I said last week against the Chargers, I think that in order for the Texans to stay in the game, the offense is going to have to find some rhythm, some spark, just like they did against the Chargers. So I think the same thing is going to be the same for the Chiefs here, because in all honesty, the Chiefs are beatable. I think the Chiefs are beatable. You get Mahomes in an awkward situation, and I think those mistakes starts to happen, and he starts getting intercepted. And the Texans are prone to intercept quarterbacks, and they've done it. They've done it against, like you said, Rios, Josh Allen. They've done it against Jared Goff. They've done it against Justin Herbert. Like they have proven they can hang with the big boys. And I always bring it back to that Lions game. It was a heartbreaker for most fans because you intercept Jared Goff 5 times in a game and you still ended up coming short, not because of the defense, but because of a lot of the mistakes that happened on offense where they just couldn't produce. So I think they've grown from that. I think the Texans going on this, the defense will still hold their end of the deal. I just think it's up to the offense to do it. With the missing pieces that they have on offense, it's hard for me to say I'm definitely 100% sure that the Texans win this one, but I am going to keep it close. I think Kansas City rolls away with it, but I'm going to keep the same score prediction that I had against the Chargers, 20-17. I think the Texans lose by a field goal. I think the Chiefs get it, 20-17 Chiefs. Rios.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I think the key to success is for them playing with an old school mentality, hard-nosed defense and clock control. And it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's not going to be high-scoring. It's not going to probably won't be a lot of fun to watch. It's probably going to be a lot of 3-and-outs because they both have pretty stout defenses.
Which is the opposite.
Right. No, but I think so with the Texans, they heard all the outside noise, but being a bye against the Chargers, and they're hearing similar things from the media again this week. And I think they're this is a group of guys like they're bonded and like they have a great culture there. And I think they're going to take all the outside noise to heart, and they're going to go out there and they're going to try to shock the world. And I predict a Texans victory.
Okay.
By game-winning field goal, 17-14.
17-14. Okay. Good. Let's go prediction. So I think both of us at least can agree it's going to be like a 3-point game. Really? Yeah.
Watch it be the complete opposite.
Right. It's like a whole blowout.
50-40 or something.
50,
wow.
no, like 50-3, and it's like the Texans come out on top. I mean, I don't know. We're like, what? But yeah, no, I'll agree with you. I think the Texans do hear the noise. I think they that does motivate them. That adds fuel to their fire. I think it's going to be a competitive game. But yeah, I'm still thinking with my Chiefs prediction over here, just like you are with the Texans. But regardless, I think a 3-point differential is fair to say.
Yeah, like that. Even most of the national media, most of their predictions are like within a one score. I know Vegas has them at 8.5 point favorites, but I think that's a little disrespectful.
No, okay.
Like they saw what the Texans defense did to Justin Herbert. Like, you're really gonna doubt these guys? Like, come on.
Yeah. All right, so guys, we'll be back again next week with the results of this upcoming weekend's game. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Bring on the Blitz channel right there at the bottom at BBlitzPod, and of course follow our Instagram account at BBlitzPod as well, just like the same name we have on our X account. And of course, this is all part of the Areskina Podcast Network. Follow Areskina on their Instagram account at Areskina, as you see it there, and on their X account as well at Areskina. That's going to be it for us, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, taking the time out of your day to check us out. Comment below what you think the score prediction will be, or what you think of this upcoming game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Do the Texans stand a chance against the Kansas City Chiefs? We'll find out by next time this week.
Next time on Dragon
Next time on Bring on the Blitz. All right, guys, that's going to be it. See y'all next time. Peace.